Hola chicos, bienvenidos, soy Giovanni y en la clase de hoy tengo otra pregunta muy importante para ti. Now, if I asked you this question in Spanish, ¿cuánto tiempo llevas aprendiendo español? O ¿cuánto tiempo llevas estudiando español? O how long have you been studying or how long have you been learning Spanish for? Are you able to answer that question in Spanish? If not, don't worry about it. I'm going to go through two very simple and easy ways you can answer this question in Spanish. But first, why do you think this is important? So remember, I'm still learning and I'm still improving my own Spanish living here in Australia. But long story short, whenever I go to a Cuban or a Mexican or a Spanish restaurant here in Australia, or in general, whenever I meet another native Spanish speaker, what do you think one of the first questions is that they ask me? Yes, you guessed it. One of the first questions they always ask me is, how long have you been learning or how long have you been studying Spanish for? So it's a really important question. Now, when I was a beginner, what I used to say was, oh, of course, Giovanni, man, that's easy. All you'd say is, yo estudio español por 4 años. Now, obviously, that's not the right way to go about it, so let's jump into it now. Alright guys, so first of all, the first way we can respond to this question is by using this particular formula, using the verb llevar, más tiempo, más gerundio. So let's break it down. So first of all, we conjugate the verb llevar in the present tense. So what is the yo form of llevar? Cool, so when we're speaking about ourselves, llevo. So llevo. Now, how long have we been studying Spanish for? Let's use myself as an example. I've been studying Spanish for 4 years. Okay, so for 4 years. Now, gerundio. So what does gerundio mean? Yes, we've gone through this before. Remember, gerundio basically in English is adding the ing onto the end of a verb if we're translating it to English. But do you know how to form this in Spanish? Cool, so we've been through it before as I mentioned. So remember, with regular AR verbs, all we simply do is, let's use the verb trabajar. So we take off the AR on the end and we put in ando. So ando, so it becomes trabajando or working in English. And if it's an ER or an IR verb in Spanish, we take off the ER. So let's use one of my favorite verbs in Spanish, which is comer, to eat. So I love eating. So we take off the ER on the end of comer and then we put in yendo. So yendo. So comer becomes comiendo or eating. Okay, so now my question to you is, how would you say in Spanish, using this formula, I have been studying Spanish for 4 years? Awesome, so you'd say, llevo 4 años estudiando español. So, llevo 4 años estudiando español. Or, let's try this one, I have been learning Spanish for 4 years. Cool, so you'd say, llevo 4 años aprendiendo español. So, llevo 4 años aprendiendo español. Nice, so I think you're starting to get it now, but my question to you now is, do you know another way you can express this in Spanish? Alright, now guys, I did cover this in a previous video using desde hace. So desde hace. Now first of all, desde hace can be a little bit confusing, so I did a previous video on this before explaining this more in depth. Now if you do want to check that one out, I will leave a link in the description box for you below. But the formula we're going to use is desde hace más tiempo más a verb, but this time in its present tense. Okay, so again, if I want to say I've been studying Spanish for 4 years, using this formula, how would you say it? Nice and simple. Desde hace 4 años estudio español. So, desde hace 4 años estudio español. Or you can say, estudio español desde hace 4 años. So estudio español desde hace 4 años. So you can be a bit flexible, you can flip it around if you want to as well. It still means the same thing. Or how would you say, I have been learning Spanish for 4 years using desde hace. Yep, simple. Desde hace 4 años aprendo español. So desde hace 4 años aprendo español. Or again, you can flip it around. Aprendo español desde hace 4 años. Now everyone, before we finish, I've got one final question for you, because I know a lot of you are like me, you're trying to learn Spanish, you're trying to learn the language, but you don't live in a Spanish-speaking country. So my question to you is, whenever you've tried to have a conversation in Spanish with a native speaker, are there any particular common questions that you get asked that you haven't been able to respond to in Spanish? If so, then please leave a comment in the comment section below with the specific question, because remember, each and every one of us here, we all have the same goal. We're all trying to learn Spanish so that eventually we can carry on a conversation fluently with a native speaker. So maybe we could all help each other out. Apart from that though, I'll see you in the next one. Hasta pronto.